got to grow the left, keep it moving, keep it going. And, a lot of the time it's posting our L's, right? Kind of commiserating and licking our wounds after a loss. But, sometimes, and so here's the thing. I've been getting in this, prolonged, protracted back and forth with some people I know. Kind of the more of the Jimmy Dore people, right? We know that, I kind of sometimes call them the reactionary left. Basically their drug is hating the Democrats. And no matter anything we get from the Democrats, as the left, anything the left is able to squeeze out of the Democratic Party, there's always that person who will show up right behind you and go, yeah, but it's not good enough, and it's not this, and it's not that, and you're never gonna reform the party, bro. You're never gonna blah 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 blah, right? And, oddly enough, these people end up repeating like very simple ahistorical right-wing talking points like, the Democrats started the KKK and the Democrats were pro-slavery and all this stuff, just completely ignoring, the whole rest of the, the history, basically. Party realignment. Got some great comments here. Trev Flat 5, Jimmy Assor, Colin Richardson, oppositional personality disorder left. Yeah, I once called it TOL, terminally online left. So I've been getting this ongoing conversation with these folks, and I made some Jimmy Dore videos. You can check those out. Got a lot of downvotes. Jimmy Dore people, in the comments calling me fat and being like, look at the ratio, bro. Force the vote, man. All this stuff. But what's interesting to me is that, of course, we're not going to turn the Democratic Party into a socialist party. Of course, none of this shit is news to me. The history of the Democratic Party, the ousting of George Wallace, right? That you're not telling me any shit I don't know when you start to talk about that stuff. But what annoys me is that there is a complete lack of nuanced and politics, like basically politics. And you see it with people who endlessly attack AOC. Oh, she's just a Democrat now. She's just a regular Democrat now. Even though she's introducing amendments to bills that nobody else would, she's helped shift the conversation farther left. Joe Biden is acting in a way he wouldn't have acted if it weren't for Bernie Sanders or AOC being, these young progressives, obviously, embodying the future of the party and a more leftward movement of the party, right? And so I just want us to take a breath and understand the material realities of politics, right? And that people, there's so much. And you could call it corruption. Yes, absolutely. Like the money influence in politics. But there's also just the regular ass horse trading politics. Joe Manchin acting a fool all the time, right? But what I want to bring up right now as an example is Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo, the powerful centrist conservative Democrat who everyone thought was, clothed in iron and was impenetrable power and unstoppable, the Cuomo name is an institution in New York and could never be assailed, right? Well, he's mired in multiple scandals now, right? Of course he's, he's now, they're opening up an impeachment probe in the New York legislature. They should be doing this for the covering up of the numbers, but the Justice Department is looking at that. So the U.S. Justice Department is looking to him and his aides for covering up the number of COVID deaths tied to, old folks' homes, rest homes in the state. His staff was involved with hiding the numbers. But he's had scandal after scandal. Of course, there's the sexual harassment. I'll get to that in a second. But then he's also was sending, special, special home visits to his brother, Chris Cuomo, the CNN host, when he contracted COVID, sending testers directly to his house and to the houses of other well-to-do political allies, family members, and special access to scarce coronavirus tests a year ago here. The impeachment investigation into New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is expanding to examine whether the governor unlawfully used his office to provide his family members with special access to scarce coronavirus tests a year ago, a state lawmaker said Thursday. The office of Attorney General Letitia James, Cuomo's fellow Democrat, issued a statement earlier Thursday urging New York's Joint Commission on Public Ethics to investigate the alleged preferential testing after reports were published in the Times-Union of Albany, the New York Times, and the Washington Post. How do you like that? Quote, the recent reports alleging there was preferential treatment given for COVID-19 testing is troubling, the statement read. While we do not have jurisdiction to investigate the matter, it's imperative that JCOP look into it immediately. Spokesperson for the Ethics Commission, Walt McClure, said the commission could not comment on anything that is or might be an investigative matter. So Cuomo is in some deep, he's in deep. And the sexual harassment allegations keep getting worse. Cuomo aide says he slammed doors shut before groping her. Governor's mansion there. An aide who accused New York Governor Andrew Cuomo of groping her at his official residence, the governor's mansion, told a newspaper in her first public interview it was a frightening physical encounter in which the Democrat slammed a door and said, "I don't care," when she she warned someone might see what he was doing. It almost felt like, it was almost like I felt like a piece of garbage to him. I felt degraded, she said. I try not to do an overly offensive New York accent. I don't care when I did that, but it might have come off that way. I apologize. All New Yorkers, I love you. I got to visit New York right as COVID was hitting. I don't know I don't think I got it there, but it was beautiful. The woman who still works in the governor's office, whoa, that's weird, spoke to the newspaper on the condition of anonymity to protect her privacy. Jesus. So, there's she's still working for him, anonymously commenting that this happened. And Cuomo probably doesn't know, oh shit, which of my female staffers I've slammed the door and said this to all of them, right? It wasn't just a hug, she said. He went for it and was kind of like, oh, the door's right there. I was mortified that a woman who works here is going to come in and see. I was terrified of that happening because that's not who I am and that's not what I am here for. I said to him, "You're going to get us in trouble," she recalled. I didn't know what else to say. It was pretty much like, "What are you doing?" That's when he slammed the door shut and said, "I don't care." Sorry. I am trying to be offensive. He came right back and he pulled me close, and all I remember is seeing his hand, his big hand. The woman said, I don't want to read anymore. This is disgusting. He's a creep. And a monster, and he should resign. He's such an egomaniac, he won't resign. Just like Trump wouldn't resign for all his crimes, Matt Gaetz ain't going to resign until he's indicted or in jail. We got here in the comments, let's see, Evil Yoda, rest in peace, Cuomo. Evil Yoda, not looking for the Cuomo-sexuals, not looking good for the Cuomo-sexuals. That was some embarrassing stuff, wasn't it? Oh my gosh, he just appears on TV during a crisis and talks, and he's not Trump. I love him, right? There's just a lot so there's a spotlight on Cuomo right now. He's being investigated by the U.S. Justice Department. He's being investigated by his state legislature. The media is up his ass. They know what he had for breakfast weeks ago, right? Here's in Business Insider: taxpayers spent nearly $650,000 on Governor Cuomo's King 1 state-owned plane, where a former aide said the governor asked her to play strip poker. So there's all this stuff coming out about him. But you know what? What does this mean? This conservative Democrat now is trying to parlay. He's trying to make nice with all of everybody he possibly can, including progressive Democrats in the state legislature. Look at this bill he just signed. Recreational marijuana is now legal in New York. It's this was not something conservatives and even conservative Democrats in New York wanted, was legal weed. But there's also aspects of this that progressive Democrats in the state legislature were able to push for that Cuomo definitely didn't want. Definitely didn't want to happen. But because he is in the hot seat, he is acquiescing to this. The long-awaited legislation legalizes recreational marijuana for adults 21 and over, in addition to permitting the possession of up to 3 ounces for personal use, allows adults to grow 3 mature and 3 immature plants at a time, legalizes the sale of weed with a 13% sales tax. It's going to raise a bunch of money, provide jobs. New York's residents will be able to smoke weed in public wherever cigarette smoking is allowed. I love how like official journalism just calls it weed. That's kind of fun. Like AP style. You can call it weed. It's technically not even marijuana. That was a name done during put on it during the scare against cannabis, as it's really actually called. But this isn't the only thing. There's also it looks like this page is having trouble loading. There's also the tax bill that just passed through the New York legislature, which is super fascinating. Let's see here. Okay, this, you know how some of these websites load a million different things. New York City's ultra-rich face 52% combined top income tax rate, highest in U.S. They're just showing other videos. I don't know why Biden was there. New York City's ultra-high earners will soon have to pay a top marginal income tax rate of nearly 52%, the highest personal income tax hit in the U.S. That means, in theory at least, that some of the city's wealthiest residents can end up giving more of their paychecks to federal, state, and local governments than they keep themselves. So this is, keep in mind, this is after, years of Bloomberg and these rich bastards, like basically turning New York into a luxury apartments only type where only the rich could afford to live there, right? New York State Senate on Tuesday passed a deal to raise the income taxes collected on those with annual earnings above $1 million. The tax hike for millionaires still must pass the state legislature's lower house and be signed into law by Governor Andrew Cuomo, both of which now seem likely to happen. Because this dude's under pressure, guys, the higher tax rates will apply to all big state residents making more than $1 million. But the city's own local levies will make the Big Apple the highest tax locale in the country. And this is why I preface this by talking about the kind of dumb left, the Democrats are always bad, is because you're ignoring all of the actual good changes we can make. And they're not going to be made, by kissing ass. They're going to be made with politics, right? And Governor Cuomo is in the hot seat. And so he is basically making pragmatic decisions to save his own sorry skin by collaborating with progressives and giving them what they want, because he doesn't want to be impeached, basically, right? Even though he should just resign. But this is the progressive caucus, I believe, in New York, getting... and just, they're probably not all progressive, but just, kind of savvy Democrats, getting something they want, taking advantage of the situation. This is the material reality, right, of politics. This is... If you're just going to give up and say the Democrats are always terrible, they're always bad. Yeah, politicians are bad, man. Powerful people act in their interests. Andrew Cuomo does not want to increase taxes on the rich. He's only doing it because he's in the shit, okay? And look at this. We even see his wealthy buddies are upset about it. New York's wealthiest look for exits as state readies hefty tax increase. New York's top business leaders are gearing up for a potential mass exodus as Governor Andrew Cuomo and state lawmakers prepare to raise their taxes. With the state budget increase, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. They are now seriously considering reconsidering as working from home becomes the norm, allowing more flexibility. Wealthy business leaders who have historically resisted moving at least some of their resources to Florida or other less taxed states, explained to CNBC. Tracy Maitland, president of investment advisory firm Adventure Capital Management, said that while he still loves his home base, New York, he's not ruling out departing. Quote, "It's a consideration," Maitland told CNBC in an interview Wednesday. "I love New York, and I was born and raised in New York. I'm going to do whatever I can to try and steady the ship. If I can't, then I'm going to have to make a decision," he added. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Clearly, the toxic climate in New York has led businesses to look to Miami as an attractive place for long-term expansion and relocation, Suarez said. I thought there was another quote here I was looking for. Here's the quote. Moving to Florida is an active and serious conversation of my peers. A media executive told CNBC, if my kids weren't here, I would move tomorrow. You know what, guys? I actually have audio of this interview. Let me play it really quick. It's not as articulate, in words. Don't they sound smarter on the page? Yeah, it's too bad. If my kids weren't here, I would move tomorrow. You poor millionaires. You poor billionaires. Who first they came for our millions, and I said nothing. Got to move from New York. I was born here. I was raised here. I've exploited workers and I've exploited the penny stocks here. I got to leave. What a jerk. What a jerk. So this is my thing about the dumb left and these reactionary lefties is, okay, like I know everything you know about the Democratic Party and the corruption and all of that. But if you don't recognize the material realities of politics and how we can actually get things from the Democratic Party by employing leverage, right? They're basically employing an essentialist argument that Democrats have done bad things in the past, therefore Democrats always bad, right? And I'm sorry, but we now have people in Congress who are openly speaking about socialism, whether it's Bernie Sanders, who's understood that you need to play a long game. He's been doing this. I mean, Reagan was elected in 1980. In 1981, Bernie Sanders becomes the mayor of Burlington, right? At the locus of neoliberalism, in time, that is, under Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher in England, and there's this one dude who's becoming mayor, and he would eventually move on to challenge the Democratic Party, the only party worth reforming, if you ask me, in our duopoly in American politics. I mean, that guy was playing a long game. And if you don't recognize the changes that have come about in the Democratic Party just because of Bernie Sanders, right? The things that Joe Biden would never have dreamed of doing or saying, like arguing for Bessemer or voting rights or whatever else, including as much aid as there is in the COVID stimulus package. You have to admit, I mean, there are amendments in the COVID stimulus that Bernie got. Like the tax forgiveness on the first 10,000 of unemployment. There are all these things. Those are going to matter to people. It might not matter to, some anti-AOC YouTuber's Patreon account, right? It might not matter to that. But it's going to matter to the people who are actually going to be helped by this, right? That's what bothers me about this is I care about the material realities and the material outcomes of policy. And even then, a vote for somebody you hate, but is better, or at least not as bad as somebody else, that matters, right? That's going to matter to the material interests of real people, right? And you can have a long game strategy and work to maybe not completely reform a party, but at least push it enough left, right? So, the thing they love to say is, the Democrats are basically a right-wing party in Europe. Okay, then why are you resisting pulling it to the left now? So it looks more like a regular European party, a centrist European party, and maybe eventually a left one. Goddamn.